Today we'll be finishing the desk area remodel by covering the wall and ceiling with felt, creating this awesome geometric pattern, as well as building some quick speaker stands. Boom! The material that I'll be using for this project is felt. It isn't wood, but interestingly enough, it can be cut and machined with woodworking tools. But this is not just some random felt. These are 9mm PET felt acoustic panels by Refelt, and they are made from recycled plastic bottles. It's a sturdy and durable material that is soft to the touch. They come in 28 different colors, so the design possibilities are endless. You can order ready-made pattern designs from their website or actually make your own, just like I did here. So the full-sized panels arrive at your door very well packed and ready to be cut into your coolest ideas. Even though I used power tools to make this project, it can easily be cut with an X-Acto knife and many of the ways that they describe on the website. I will leave the link to Refelt website in the description below so you can check it out after the video. After cutting the felt panels into more manageable sizes, I went ahead making 55mm strips on the table saw. Make sure to wear a good respirator since you are basically making plastic sawdust and you definitely don't want that to get into your lungs. The pattern I'm creating is made out of trapeziums and I'll show you how to find the appropriate dimensions and angles. First, you have to decide the length you want for the trapezium. In my case, I decided to go with 150mm, which means I need to draw a circumference with a 75mm radius using the compass. Then, trace a diameter line anywhere as long as it passes through the center point. Grab the compass and place the needle point over each side of the diameter line to make a mark where it meets the circumference line. You just basically found the points to make a hexagon, and our trapeziums are actually two halves of it. Cut them out and place them together to check if the angled side has the same size as the top. They need to be exactly the same, so take your time to make it precise. We can now start making the table saw jig to batch cut our felt trapeziums. I got a pair of zero play miter bars, so the steps you see me doing here are based on installation instructions. You don't have to use these, you can simply use hardwood runners. I ordered these a long time ago just in case I would need them, and I guess the time has come. So I'll leave the link in the description as well as to other tools and products shown in this video. They are required for some specific drilling depth, and it's always better to use a drill press if you have one. I can now adjust the bars to meet the size of my table saw slots and attach them loosely to the MDF base. I clamped the fan so that I could hold the MDF against it and fully tighten the bolts with the jig squared to the blade. I ran the MDF into the blade to make a cut so that I can align the paper trapeziums to the curve and find the exact angle to attach a fence. You can simply screw a straight scrap piece of wood, but I made these holes because the screws that I'm using are a bit short for this thick plywood piece. We can now position the template again aligned with the curve and trace a mark on the opposite tip. To make things reliable and quicker to cut, it's best to glue or clamp a stop block. I simply used a baby Japanese clamp that has straight edges. The jig is ready to use, so go ahead and cut 3 pieces, put them together to form a triangle, and this way you will know if your jig gives you precise trapeziums or if you need some adjusting. Once you confirm that it is precise, you can go ahead and cut hundreds of felt tiles. For this project, I ended up cutting over 700 pieces, but it all goes quicker than you think. Initially, I wasn't sure if I wanted the edges chamfered or not, so I made some tests on the router table, which worked great. The chamfers are relatively sharp and do look pretty good. I made a few pattern examples and decided to go with a triangular structure and no chamfers. I have some of those examples on Instagram posts, and by the way, it'd be pretty cool if you follow me over there and subscribe to this channel as well. Thanks. It's installation time, so I started by clearing up the area and removing the background rolls, which is a past project that I didn't end up using that much. Before sticking the felt to the wall, I decided to cover the wall with foam core and screw it with really small and thin screws. I guess it will be a lot less damaging to the wall to have a few screw points here and there than blobs of glue all over the place. I made sure the screw heads were flush or below the surface. As you can see, I have cables coming from the lights and running around the loft bed structure, and some of the cable clips were in the way, so I had to change their position or cut a notch in the material to be able to install it successfully. It's finally time to glue the tiles and create the pattern. I did a test previously on the workbench and did like the results, so I just took a photo with my phone to work as a reference for the final design. I didn't want a perfectly repeated pattern, so I made sort of a gradient from dark gray at the bottom to light gray at the top and a few pops of yellow here and there. There are several ways to install this felt to a wall, and I followed Refelt recommendation to use a polymer adhesive. I did first build the whole middle portion of the pattern and worked my way around the perimeter, custom cutting the tiles to fit the remaining holes. I also ended up getting some of the cable clips out of the way and reattached them a bit further away from the wall. To custom fit the remaining tiles, I did cut some of them on the table saw, and other ones were just quicker to cut by hand with a sharp blade. On the right side of the wall panel, I left a gap of about 50 millimeters so that the cabinet doors can still open a reasonable amount, otherwise they would get trapped. Since the back wall is done, I can move into making the 3 ceiling panels, and the process is pretty much the same. Each strip of felt gave me 10 pieces, and it becomes so easy and quick to cut them in batch since it's just a matter of flipping the strip over, bumping it against the stop block, and rinse and repeat hundreds of times. As for the final size of the panels, I decided to cut them a bit smaller than the niche spaces because they have a variation of a couple millimeters, and this way things got a lot easier. Also, I think the reveal gaps all around look kinda cool. The light panels were removed as well as the small cube lamp, and these are both past projects that you can find videos of on my channel. I used the same polymer adhesive that is high-tech to stick the panels underneath the loft bed platform. It worked really well and the bond was immediate. The lighting fixtures could then be reattached with longer screws. To complete the desk improvements, I just need to make a couple of speaker stands so that the tweeters get in line with my ears and the perception of sound is better for editing video and music. The design is incredibly simple. We just have a top, a bottom, one front, and 2 sides with 2 extra middle sections to keep the top from sagging. For the sides, I first cut strips of 30 millimeters on the table saw and cut them in half diagonally by hand. The table saw gives a squarer cut, but I didn't want to make a tapering jig at this point. The middle sections need to be shorter than the sides, so I quickly cut those with a crosscut sled. I need to cut a 7.5-degree angle on the top edge of the front piece, as well as on the front edge of the top piece. Then 45-degree miters were cut on the front and side pieces because I wanted these to look continuous instead of having them butt jointed. To put it all together, I used contact adhesive, but I haven't explored other glues just yet. This worked fine though. I just used the brush included on the glue cap to spread it on the joints, doing my best to prevent the glue from staining the outer faces. After 10 minutes, I could firmly press the pieces together and they bonded instantly. So I can keep going, spreading glue to the other parts. Make sure to position the front edge of the top panel correctly to match the angle direction. I then trimmed the back area so that everything was perfectly flush, and it was done. I'm super happy about the way the space turned out, and although I always prefer minimal designs, I really wanted to try something different and more visually elaborate. It looks awesome, and I almost regret placing such a big screen in front of the felt wall. The cabinet doors still open almost all the way, and regarding the acoustic improvements, I can tell you that I wasn't able to hear significant differences using this voiceover microphone. I guess the acoustics weren't that bad to start with, and the studio is packed with stuff, so it isn't super echoey. I believe it would make a huge difference in empty rooms or in blocking noise from one room to the other. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, go ahead and check out this loft pad / workspace build from the start. A big shout out to Refelt for providing this awesome material, and to all my Patreon members for all the support and making this video possible. If you want to support my work too, head over to patreon.com/gethandsdirty or visit my online store and buy a t-shirt, plans, or a notebook. Thanks everyone for watching, and go get your hands dirty! Até já!